Hey everyone, welcome back to Miss Anime. Today we're diving into a special two-part character spotlight on one of the most iconic figures in anime, Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Join me as we explore Edward's incredible journey, his struggles, triumphs, and the profound impact he's had on fans worldwide. We'll delve into his amazing abilities, personality, his relationships, and what makes him such a compelling character. We'll also throw in a few interesting trivias about Edward, so make sure to stay tuned. Without further ado, here's Edward Elric, the heart and soul of alchemy. Edward Elric, also known as Ed or the Full Metal Alchemist, is the titular main protagonist of the Full Metal Alchemist series. After losing his right arm and left leg due to a failed human transmutation temptation, Ed became the youngest state alchemist in history by achieving his certification at age 12. 3 years later, Ed had become fully engrossed in the search for the legendary Philosopher's Stone, an item which he hopes to restore his younger brother Alphonse Elric, whose whole body had been lost in the aftermath of the human transmutation. On the surface, Edward displays an immature sort of personality. He is decidedly stubborn and strong willed, frequently letting his pettiness and vindictiveness get the better of him. It is this stubbornness that contributes to Führer Bradley's decision to codename him Full Metal, as Hagane, literally meaning steel, is a term in Japanese that denotes someone of obstinate disposition, and often has to be restrained or reprimanded by Al or whoever else is present. He is somewhat selfish and self absorbed, generally acting more out of his self interest than any sort of philanthropy, as well as taking several opportunities to stroke his own ego or flaunt his governmental power and monetary license of his military position. He is largely hostile towards figures of authority and feels little incentive to follow orders with which he disagrees, earning him the distinction of being a loose cannon of sorts. Edward is also rather quick tempered, resorting more often to steel fisted violence than calm negotiation to settle disputes, even going so far as to suggest that refraining from hitting Panina because of her gender is a sexist notion and therefore against his principles. He has a reputation for being foul mouthed and is an incurable, sarcastic cynic, only too happy to bluntly and harshly relieve others of their comfortable delusions regarding their own self importance. Edward has also displayed a propensity towards impatience and an inability to sit still for long, which perhaps contributes to his love of travel. However, for those few people who have made an impact on him, Ed shows his deeper nature to be one marked selflessness, unflinching loyalty, and great compassion. As someone who has had to suffer greatly at such a young age, Edward cannot ignore the true suffering of others and becomes sympathetic upon sensing pain and resolve in people's hearts. Though his solemn advice to such people is often tempered with bruised criticism, it is only because he genuinely wishes to place them on the most direct path forward. As one has to struggle with a maimed body, he urges those with healthy bodies to use their strong legs to move forward, and as one burdened by the mistakes of his past, he stresses the necessity of people taking responsibility for their own errors. Though he will intervene on behalf of the oppressed if he concludes that a situation has called for it, Ed tends to help only those with the will but not the means to help themselves, in which case his recklessness and disdain for authority often has him bending the rules to dole out a Robin Hood-esque justice in accordance with his strong belief in the concept of equivalent exchange, earning him notoriety and popularity as the hero of the people. Though he is quick to resort to violence and combat to resolve many situations, Ed has an immense respect for human life in all aspects. Few things anger him more than the mistreatment of others, and he considers all those he meets as human and worthy of respect no matter their mental, financial, or physical circumstance. Despite his status as a soldier and state alchemist, being referred to as human weapons, Ed refuses to kill even under life-threatening circumstances. Although some around him consider this as a weakness, he is unflinching in his own personal morals and is willing to accept whatever consequences come from his decisions. A defining trait of Ed's shown throughout the series is his guilt complex. As far as he's concerned, his and his brother's current states are his fault, partially because it was his idea to transmute their mother in the first place, and partially because Al lost his entire body as a result of the experiment, while Ed only lost an arm and a leg. He was even convinced that Al hated him for what happened to his body and was scared to ask about it for years. As a result of this trait, he starts off as highly standoffish, trying to accomplish everything on his own and not accepting help from anyone but Al, as well as being convinced that he can solve all his problems through alchemy. Over time, he learns to depend more on his friends and share his burdens with others. But while he may work on his guilt, it never truly goes away, as even towards the end of the series, he's still beating himself up over Nina Tucker being turned into Chimera, despite having saved countless other lives along the way. Of course, the most noticeable of Edward's dispositional characteristics is his Napoleonic denial of his shortness. Even in moments of relative composure, any and all references to his stature cause him to violently lose control of his emotions and lash out both verbally and physically. One of the most common reasons for these outbursts is if anything is related to his size, since he has a complex about being shorter than average. Distinctive to these outbursts is Ed's tendency to take even the most casual mention of his height as an insult, unless he is in the wrong and needs to be put in his place, such as when Izumi Curtis calls him a runt while scolding him and Al in the manga. He also accepts Nina referring to him as Little Big Brother in the 2003 anime. This part of his personality is presumably no longer present by the end of the series, given that he has grown to normal height by then. Edward is an alchemist at his core and firmly believes in its tenets and the concept of equivalent exchange. As such, he approaches the world scientifically and is reluctant to acknowledge the existence of miracles or destiny. That being said, though he professes that he does not believe in gods, his spiritual sensibilities tend more toward the deistic than the atheistic. He does not pray but frequently acknowledges the existence of a god in his speech. While initially Edward holds the belief that anything can be explained and solved through alchemy, over time he grudgingly acknowledges the fact that there are many things that exist in life that he cannot explain. He also made it known that his trademark red coat is part of his general lack of taste, as it is what he says, a badass collar that gets the blood going. Thanks for watching today's character spotlight on Edward Elric. We explored his personality and what makes him such an iconic figure in Fullmetal Alchemist. Edward's determination, sense of justice, and emotional depth have captivated fans worldwide. Be sure to watch out for part 2, where we'll dive into Edward's incredible abilities, his alchemical skills, and his combat prowess. We'll also explore his relationships with the closest people in his life, like his brother Alphonse, Winry, and others. Plus, I'll share some fascinating trivia about him that you might not know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next video. Your support means a lot, and I can't wait to see you all in the next character spotlight. See you next time, and stay wicked!